Hi, okay, so I'm going to talk about something I kind of touched on a little bit last time, but I'm going to touch on it a lot more this time. And that is separate spheres ideology. Um, and that also kind of includes the closet. So separate spheres ideology is really interesting because all it means is that there's a public sphere and a private sphere. A public sphere is um, in this context, it's usually where men would be. It would be out working, it would be out doing things um, outside of the house. And the private sphere would be in the house. So that would typically be what women would do. So um, women would usually do like the housework, take care of the kids, cook and clean if they didn't have someone help them, like a slave or a servant. Um, And so, yeah, that's the difference between private and public sphere. All of this actually got broken down in the 1920s with the inventions of like movie theaters and cars. And I know I also touched a bit on romantic friends and stuff last time as well. But the thing is romantic friends became incredibly harder to have when the spheres got broken down because men and women would spend more time together. At movie theaters, they would be in cars. Sometimes they would have sex in cars. Cars were like a really big deal because there would be no parental supervision. Carnivals were a great place for people to go on dates too. And I bet you're wondering, like, hey, Ella Jane, why are you talking about this in relation to the closet? Because in the 1920s, we also see bisexuality and homosexuality, so like being gay and being lesbian, pop off. And it was actually being a lesbian. Like there was a name for it this time, which is really interesting. And so you had like these really big groups and big communities of people. So like they call it Bohemia, and it's like the same Bohemia that they talk about in Red. It was really big on like bisexuality. People would go look at the parties. People would go and it'd be like a gay party. People would just kind of like hook up. 1920s, we talk about how like sexually free the 1920s is and how like we have flappers and stuff. I don't think we ever really talk about the extent of the freedom that the 1920s had. But also with all the creation of that, you get this taste of freedom. Um, which, when you have a taste of freedom, you get a closet because now you know what's at stake and you know how things are when you actually get to be yourself. So, when the stock market crashed, there was like a rise. There was already looking to be like a rise in like home, family values, conservative sort of feelings. And so a lot of those people who were bisexual ended up like shuffling back in the closet. There were still gay people, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them got like hit hard. Um, and like it was the creation of the closet, so it was really bad, and to the point where you wouldn't talk about it anymore. It's just very much the creation of the closet. And I know you'll probably be like, Ella Jane, what does that even mean in regards to private spheres and public spheres? Well, um, and looking back on that moment and now looking in today's standards, we see a lot of times, like in the 1930s, people will try to push you back in the closet. People will try, the government and other people try to scare you in staying in the closet. And now that's not even, like, a closet is a room in your house. So we're not even talking about, like, you're not even, like, the idea is, like, you're not even out of the private sphere. You can't even enter the private sphere, theoretically, because that's how silent that you can be. Now, of course, they make you be. Of course, we also see that there is a lot of like there were parties still. They were just very hidden. And if you did go out in the public sphere and you were gay, like that's when you get a lot of like gay bars, and you would also get a lot of um, like not football teams, softball teams and stuff like that. But it was very not talked about. Even in like women's colleges, if you were outed as a lesbian, that would be a big no-no. I'm not 100% sure what it was like for gay men. Most of the information I'm getting is also from Twilight Lovers and Odd Girls by Lillian Faderman, because she does talk about that. It's really interesting. Y'all should still check it out. But yeah, so with the creation of like that sort of closet and that sort of freedom, we also get this thing that we also have nowadays. Um, and it's really interesting to see how the closet has shifted and how people try to push us back in there has shifted. Now, obviously, now it's getting slightly a lot more scarier, but that's okay. Being out, if that's something that you can do safely, you should do that if you can, and that's something that you do want. And if you're like really sad and upset, just know that being out, or at least talking to like one or two people about it, is a very good way to feel at least a little bit better if you can do that so safely. If you can't do it safely, don't do it. But the thing is that we see a lot of it's all about knowledge. And in the 1920s, there was a lot of knowledge about bisexuality and a lot of knowledge about where to find these people who would be in these groups, who would be practicing these bad things, but they wouldn't necessarily be bad. They were just considered bad things because that's how they like to frame it, and that's how it's been framed on and off. So you see things like when, especially with like the ruling of Roe v. Wade, you see like abortions are always like, hey, keep the baby or something bad happens, or or if you're gay and a lot of the representation, man or woman, you see the characters tend to die, and you see that it's not necessarily a healthy lifestyle. And now these views are to deter people from that. Like in the Texas GOP, they want us to know that being gay, in the new thing, they have said that they want people to understand that being gay is an abnormal lifestyle, and that means being out and proud is not something that they want you to see, because being out and proud means that is a normal lifestyle, which is why they don't want people like that to be in schools and teaching, or out in schools and teaching, because if they are out in schools and teaching, then that means that is a way that you can live your life. And that does affect me, like, personally as well, partly because I'm a lesbian, but I'm also a trans woman, anyway, so because when I take that into consideration, like, personally, I had no idea that transitioning was possible until, like, the internet blew up, and I really could go out of my way to find that information for myself. And so, resistance, existence is a form of resistance at this point, and a lot of people recognize that, and they want to make it so that you can't exist, so you can't resist, because the more people that they don't agree with that exist with that lifestyle that they don't think is like pure, which I might talk on next week, I'm not 100% sure, but they want you to be pure, they want you to procreate, they want you to further society by having kids and being normal, and that is all BS, because there's no one way to live a human life. There's a lot of ways to live a human life, I don't know how many people are on Earth, like 6 billion at this point, I guess. That's a made up number, I'm making it up right now, but there's 6 billion different ways to live your life. I know there's a lot of talk about you're not a special snowflake, but everyone has their own personal experiences, and those experiences shapes who you are. So technically everyone is a special snowflake, and everyone has their own personal experiences that are different because of that. Beside the point, representation is important. So when you take that into consideration, there's all this like really depressing media, like one of, and this is a true story, is like Boys Don't Cry, about a trans man, and they get killed, and they actually completely wrote off another character. That's beside the point as well. Or like really sad, depressing gay movies where like one of the partners dies, or you always make it focused on their sexuality and about them and how in their discovery of their journey. And if you want to read something that is not like that, that is a bit different, there's this book called Greyson. It's by David Levithan. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, so I promise you I butchered that. But one of the characters, whose name is Greyson, he's gay and he's depressed, and it's not about him finding out how he's gay or finding out that he's depressed. He is just living with both of those things and moving forward. And you see things like that also, more now so than later. You see things like that in like Heartstopper is a really good representation, even though there's a bit about finding out about your sexuality. Hulu also has this really cool movie called Crush that talks about that, where it's not about her finding out. It's just a lovely couple, and you get to see these stories and relationship develop outside of this really depressing thing, because media evolves, and because the people who make this sort of media don't want you to be put back in the closet, and that's why representation matters, and that's why public spheres and private spheres matter, because a lot of that sphere ideology has been broken down already, and they are trying to and there's people trying to recreate that to make sure that you can't get outside of that. And it's really important to understand what that is moving forward, what the closet is moving forward, because there is freedom. Like, personally, I know what my freedom looks like, and I know how it feels like, and I know that I would not want to go back in the closet either way, because I love my life how it is right now. And so yeah, that's public spheres versus private spheres. I'll probably talk about something. Next week I'll probably talk about something more culturally relevant with all the Supreme Court stuff and really going on. Just so you know, I'll probably be talking a lot about feminism and different types of feminism. So just be prepared for that. I hope you all have a lovely week, and I hope you all rest and love, okay, kids?